Hare Krishna. Welcome to Sunday Bhagavatam class. Today we're going to read the third verse of the Bhagavatam and perhaps some more verses after that. We won't necessarily limit ourselves to one verse per day, per Sunday. So, one second here. So the verse. First we'll begin, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, the Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 3, Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam Shukamukaram rata dravasanyutam Pibata Bhagavatam rasamalayam Muhuraho rasika Bhavuka. So this verse explicitly urges us to hear the Bhagavatam, to experience the Bhagavatam. The previous verses, if you remember, in the first verse, Janma Jasya Jaton Bayari Taratashartesha Vigyasara, explain the Tamna Sena Sadan Yidastagukam Satyam Param Dhimati, that indicates that we are commenting on Vedanta, the highest truth, that this also is the real meaning of the Vedic Gayatri, and that the absolute truth in its own abode, in his own abode, will be discussed here. And then the second verse of the Bhagavatam repeatedly uses the word atra, which means here. Dharma projita kaitavo atra, paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam vastu atra. It repeatedly uses the word atra, which means here in this Bhagavatam. But of course not explicitly referring to the Bhagavatam. Now in verse 3, which concludes these three introductory verses, at the conclusion of this sort of short introduction, the Bhagavatam describes itself by name. And so let's look at that verse and urges us to take advantage of this book. So the first word is nigama. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam. Nigama means Vedic scripture, and ni means within or down into, and and gama, of course, means going. So in the Vedic scriptures, we go within. We go deeply within the truth. And of all these scriptures, this is the kalpataror, which Prabhupada translates the desire tree. So there are many scriptures that talk about many subjects, some of them mundane, some of them spiritual. For example, Dhanurveda, military text. Of course, one may use it for Krishna or one may use it for Maya. So there are many texts that just talk about different professional skills, astrology or whatever. But those other texts cannot provide us, cannot bestow upon us everything that we really desire as souls. And obviously, we have many desires in our mind, in our senses, and yet these other desires, they're not eternal, and they change. For example, what pleases you today may not please you tomorrow. If you think back of the things you enjoyed many years ago, and now you may have very different taste. So, as souls, we also have eternal desires. We desire to exist. We desire real happiness. I mean, at different points in our life, we think that different things are happiness, and then we find out, well, actually they're not. So real happiness and real knowledge, real understanding. When you're a child, when you're a little child and you first go to school, then you have the sensation that you're learning so many things. Everything is new, spelling and arithmetic and so on. But ultimately, what is the highest knowledge? All forms of knowledge that train our mind or teach us to reason or inform us about the nature of the world, ultimately, what is Vedya, as Krishna says in the Gita? What is really to be known? And of course, ultimately, that is Krishna. And therefore, Krishna says, Vedaischā sarvairaham eva Vedyo, that by all forms of knowledge, ultimately, I am to be known. It is I who am to be known. Oh, by the way, if you hear that noise, that's going to be gone in just a minute. So, but here it is said, of all authoritative books, there is one which is what Prabhupada calls it desire tree, and that is the Bhagavatam. So the word here for desire tree, kalpa taru, taru of course is tree. Kalpa actually means facilitating or providing. I'll give you some of the meanings of the word kalpa from the Sanskrit dictionary, kalpa taru. It means something which is able, competent to give you, whatever it is that one seeks. It can give that to you. So kalpa has the sense of having the power to get the job done. So whatever, being competent, equal to, able, fit, proper. So kalpa taru is a sort of a figurative tree that has the power, has the ability, is able to provide what you desire. And here in the case of the Bhagavatam, it can provide what you really want. And sometimes we don't know we really want. Sometimes, for example, a person may be at a restaurant and something looks good, so they order it, then they don't like it. Imagine relationships. People enter into relationships because they think, this person will make me happy. And then they find out, well, not really. I mean, there's so many things like that. You may move to a particular city and then discover that you're not really happy there. You may not be happy in your job. So we don't always know what we want. And often, I mean, the reason, in a sense, we're unhappy is because we don't really know what we want, or we want the wrong thing. So, so ultimately, the Bhagavatam is Nigama Kalpa Taror. It is the sort of the wish fulfillment. Kalpa really has more the sense of fulfillment. It is the fulfilling tree, or the tree that fulfills our desires among all the Vedic literatures. And now with the words Galitang Phalang, the rest of this verse really uses this nectar analogy, the idea that there are fruits that are so sweet that there's literally just juice dripping from it. And of course, the word for juice in Sanskrit is rasa, which is also the word rasa, which means juice or flavor, taste. And of course, also the word used to describe the taste or flavor of our relationship with Krishna. So that metaphor is going to be used now for the rest of the verse. So of that desire tree of all Vedic literature, this Bhagavatam is Galitang Phalang. It is the fruit that is literally dripping with juice. I remember when I was young, we had an apricot tree in our backyard in Los Angeles. And in those days, I mean, fruit was really fruit. And I remember the juice just dripping out of the fruit. And, or for example, in the summer in Los Angeles, we get all these fruits in the summer, like plums and peaches and apricots, and they would be just dripping with juice. So that's the idea here, Galitang Phalang, a fruit which is so ripe, which is so sweet that it's just oozing juice. And Shuka Mukad, literally from the lips or from the mouth of the parrot, Shuka, or of course the great sage Shuka. So really, this whole third verse is sort of a play on words from the name of the primary Bhagavatam speaker. The main Bhagavatam speaker is Vyasa's son, the great Shuka, as Prabhupada says, Shukadeva Goswami. So Shuka also means parrot. And so the Bhagavatam here is constructing this beautiful, clever metaphor around the name of the speaker. So Shukamukha, because as Prabhupada said, it's understood in India that the parrot, it pierces a fruit with its beak and the fruit becomes sweeter. So Shukamukha, from the mouth of, or the lips of Shuka, this Galitang Phalang, this ripened fruit. And then Amrita Drava Sangyutam, which is literally running with nectar. It's in English, for example, we say running water, which means water is flowing. So running in English also means that something is flowing. So the same thing in Sanskrit. Drava means running. So like you say running water, in this case, running nectar. Amrita Drava Sangyutam. So this fruit oozing nectar, which is running, it's running with nectar and oozing the sweet juice, and it's coming from the lips of the Shuka. So that's the metaphor here. So then the next line says, Pibata Bhagavatam, so drink it. I mean, here's this delicious fruit, which is just oozing this nectar. And this particular nectar, or this juice, is Amrita, it's immortal. It's an undying, it's an immortal juice, nectar, flavor. And so the Bhagavatam says, drink it, pibata. And pibata, interestingly, is the second person plural in Sanskrit. So it's speaking to all the readers. It's not just speaking to one reader. Pibata, grammatically, is speaking to everyone. So Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam. So drink this Bhagavata Rasa, this juice, this nectar, or in other words, the rasa with Krishna. Alayam. Means until or up to. Layam, until literally your body dissolves. Laya means dissolution, like pralaya, the dissolution of the universe. So alaya, up to dissolution, means until your body dissolves back into material nature. As long as you're in this world, just drink this Bhagavatam, everyone. And muhur, constantly, aho. Aho is an exclamation, like oh in English. Rasika, and again, using that same metaphor, the word, we know the word rasa. So rasika, in Sanskrit, originally, it's sort of like the affectionate or diminutive, like little rasa, like gopi and gopika, or radha and radhika. So here we have rasika, and it comes to mean like little in the sense of very fine. I mean, little can be in the sense of precise, like to focus. So rasika means here, it sort of grammatically, it means those who have a refined sense of rasa, those who are very precise and very refined in their appreciation of flavor, of taste. And of course, because even before Lord Chaitanya appeared, in India, there was this sense from rasa that it's the flavor or the taste of different relationships. As we say, like to have a particular rasa with Krishna, a particular flavor of relationship, such as conjugal relationship, friendship, parental affection, and so on. So here, rasika means those who are expert. Prabhupada translates it here, those who are full in the knowledge of mellows. Prabhupada used to translate the word rasa as a mellow. And just in case you're interested, in English, according to the dictionary, mellow is not as an adjective, but as a, they have it as a noun? That's strange. I don't have it as a noun. A mellow. Oh well, bad dictionary. So, so rasika, those of you who appreciate, who really understand flavor and taste of life, here's the book you should be reading, you should be relishing, because here you will find real rasa. And then bhuvi, here on earth, Bhuvi means on earth. Bhavuka. And Bhavuka again means those who are expert, those who are thoughtful, as Prabhupada translates it, expert and thoughtful, discriminating. The Sanskrit dictionary for Bhavuka here gives having a taste for the beautiful. In other words, it can be someone who just appreciates beauty in poetry, or an aesthete, as we say. A happy person who just appreciates the beauty of the world, including linguistic beauty and natural beauty and so on and so forth. So for those people, those who are bhavukas, those who really appreciate beauty, or who are attuned to the fine things of life, and who especially appreciate rasa, the flavor of relationships and what real pleasure is, these people drink this nectar of the Bhagavatam. So that's the third verse. And I'm going to go on. So that's the introduction to the Bhagavatam, really. Now in text 4, we begin the storyline, so to speak. So text 4 says, Naimisha nimisha kshetre rishayak shonakadaya satram swargaya lokaya sahasra samam asata. So Naimisha, in the forest of Naimisha. The word Naimisha comes from the word animisha. Nimisha in Sanskrit means to blink, and animisha means unblinking. And so it refers to the demigods, who apparently don't blink like we do. So, here, because demigods used to visit or favor that particular place, it's called Nimisha Kshetra, sort of the land or the field of the demigods. And so from that, it becomes Naimisha Aranya. Naimisha Aranya. Aranya means forest in Sanskrit. Brinda Aranya, Naimisha Aranya. So Naimisha, in that sacred forest, Animisha Kshetre, a place of the celestial beings, Rishya, sages, Shonakadaya, headed by Shonaka, Satram, a sacrificial session, Swargaya Lokaya, unto Swarga, unto Loka, literally what it says. So you can take this to mean Swarga Loka, that for the purpose of bringing to the sages and to people the true celestial realm, which is the spiritual world, or Loka can be taken in the sense of people. Prabhupada takes it that way. Swargaya, Prabhupada takes Swarga here to mean the Lord, and Loka to mean the devotees. Like in India, the House of Commons is called the Lok Sabha, People's House. So anyway, Sahasra Samamasata. So the sages sat, like the word asana, so asata. They sat for this great sacrifice, Sahasra Samam, to last 1,000 years. And this satra, the sacrifice, was to be offered to the Lord in heaven and his devotees. So that's the first verse. You have these sages at Naimisha Kshetra, Naimisha Aranya, who are engaged in the sacrifice. And then ta, ekada tu munya, pranta huta hutagnaya, satkritam sutam asinam, paprachuridam adarat. So those sages not once upon a time, but Sanskrit, that's sort of how you begin the story, ekada, one time. Those sages, pratar, in the morning, huta hutagnaya, having offered into their offering fires that were meant for offerings. So having offered into the offering fires, they asked this question respectfully, adarat. They were very respectful, and they put this question to Suta, who had been honored by them, Satkritam, whom they had honored and who was sitting there amongst them. So they asked this question. Rishayuchuhu, the sages said, Tvaya kalu puranani setihasani chanaga Akyartan yapyadhitani dharma shastrani janita. The sages said, Tvaya, by you, Kalu, indeed, Puranani, the Puranas, Satyasani, along with the histories, O sinless one, Janaka, Akyatani, were narrated, api, adhitani, and studied. So you have studied, literally in Sanskrit, gone over, adhita. You have studied and you have taught the Puranas together with the histories. The word for history is itihasa, here in the plural, itihasan, which literally means itihasa, thus it was in the past. Thus it was in the past. Itihasa. So that becomes the word for history. The thus it was in the past literatures. So Puranani Satyasani, Akyatani Apyadhitani, you studied them, you taught them, Dharma Shastrani, all the authoritative books on Dharma, Janiyuta, all the authoritative books on Dharma, indeed. So they're praising him that you're extremely learned. You've studied all the relevant literatures. And Jani Veda Vidang Sheshto Bhagavan Badarayana Anyecha Muniya Suta Parabaravido Vidu. So you studied also so actually he's saying that Bhagavan Badarayana, that great personality Vyasadeva, who was the best of Veda knowers, he also studied and taught these along with Anyecha Muniyak, other sages, O Suta, other sages who know, you could say, the high and the low, or the who know all things, physical and metaphysical, as Prabhupada translates it. Sages who know all these things, they also know these scriptures that you taught. So what the sages are saying here, basically, is that Suta did not simply, read certain books because those were his favorite books or he liked those books. No. The sages are making clear that Suta, you have studied and taught very well the standard canon, the standard body of sacred texts. You have studied the books that all great sages study. This is the standard curriculum. That's what you've learned. So that's the point that they're making here. And Beta Tong Somya Tatsarvang Tattvatas Tadanugrahat Bruyu Snegdasya Shishasya Guravo Guhimapi Dutam. So Somya means, like sublime one. The Prabhupada translates it, one who is pure and simple. Beta Tong Somya, you know all of this. Tattvatas, categorically, in truth, tadanugrahat, by the mercy of those previous sages, just mentioned, Vyas and all those great sages, by their mercy, you know all this. Truthfully, you really know it. You know it systematically, and you know it in truth, by their mercy. And the reason you learned it from those sages is because this little beautiful two lines here. Because gurus should or must explain advanced knowledge to an affectionate, a devoted disciple. So shishasya, to a disciple, and then snigdha, who is affectionate, who is devoted. Prabhupada says here, submissive. So In other words, they're saying that you were a devoted disciple, you were a loving disciple, and it's natural that all these great sages taught you because gurus should teach advanced knowledge, guhyam, to a devoted disciple. And that's why you know it, because you were a devoted disciple. And then, tatra angjasayushman bhavata jad binischitam pungsang ekantatak sheyas tannat shangsitum arhasi. So now the sages explain specifically what they want to hear. And they say that now, please, tatra means therein. Tatra means there. So the word tatra means there or therein. So when you repeat it, tatra means in all those areas. In other words, in all those scriptures and all those books you studied, within that whole body of knowledge that you've acquired. Angjasa, right now, Ayushman, Prabhupada translates it, blessed with a long duration of life. You all know the term Ayurveda. The word Ayur means duration of life. So Ayurveda means knowledge of how to extend the duration of life. And here, Suta is called Ayushman, one who possesses Ayur. In other words, Suta you have, which Prabhupada translates it, you're blessed with a long duration of life. So tatra, so in all those books that you've learned, Angjasa, right now, Ayushman, oh, you blessed with a long life, Bhavata Jad Binishatam, whatever you determine to be, Pungsang Ekanta Takshayas, the ultimate, the ultimate, unquestioned good, the greater good. Literally, Shreyas means the greater good. That which is without question, ultimately, the greater good for all people. Tannak Shangsi Tumarhati. It is fitting for you to now explain that to us. So it's a beautiful verse. Tatra tatrang jasayushman bhavata jad binischitam pungsang ekanta takshayas tannak shangsitum arhasi. Then they say prayen alpayushak sabya kalavasmin yuge janaha mandasu manda matayo manda bhagya upadruta. So here the word manda is repeated quite a lot, and manda means slow, tardy, moving slowly, idle, lazy, sluggish, apathetic, weak, or it can mean dull-witted, silly, stupid, foolish. Very positive word, right? Unhappy, miserable. So that's manda. So prayena, which means for the most part, Prabhupada translates it almost always. So prayena alpayushak sabya kalavasmin yuge janaha. Janaha, the people, kalava in this Kali Yuga, in this age of Kali. Kalav, asmin yuge, in this Yuga, kalav, in Kali. So in this Kali Yuga, people, prayena, for the most part, are alpayus. They have a short duration of life. Again, the word ayur, Ayurveda. Alpa, they have a very small, short duration of life. And here the sages describe Suta as sabhya. The word sabha means an assembly of leaders. It can be political leaders. It can mean an assembly of Brahminical leaders, intellectual leaders. So one who's qualified to sit in a learned assembly here is called sabhya, worthy to sit in the sabha. So they address him as sabhya because, in fact, Suta right now is in the middle of an assembly of sages. He's sitting in this assembly of sages, and so their sages are saying to him, sabhya. They call him sabhya. You are You deserve to be here teaching an assembly of learned sages. And they were very learned. We'll find in the second canto, Shaunika really starts to speak. He's the head of the sages who are listening to Suta, and he's brilliant. I mean, some of the most brilliant poetic verses in the Bhagavatam are spoken by Shaunika, who is just, in the audience, but he's the head of the sages who are listening. So Suta is sabya, worthy to be in and to speak in such a learned assembly. And they say to him that for the most part, in this age of Kali, people don't live very long. Manda, they're stupid. This will not come as any surprise to anyone who is alive in the world right now and paying attention. This will not surprise you. That people in general are dull, slow-witted, stupid, sumanda matiya, and their opinions on things are really stupid. Sumanda. Su means very. Sumanda, very dull, very foolish. Their matis, their opinions, their thinking, their views. So people are very foolish or dull, and their opinions are very dull or stupid. Mandabhagya, and they're very slow to achieve good fortune. Bhagya means good fortune. Prabhupada describes Mandabhagya as unlucky. But again, the word Manda, they're very slow to achieve good fortune. Upadruta, and they're always disturbed. It's very interesting, the word upadruta. Druta means sort of, again, like running. It's in the same root as the word drava. Sort of like, darting about. And upadruta is kind of the image that this conjures up in Sanskrit, as people's minds are just kind of like all over the place, but all over the place in many superficial places. Not like going deeply into something, but just upadruta, just like dashing about here and there superficially. Well, welcome to the digital world. So that's that verse. So it's a pretty dismal picture of Kali Yuga. And then, and because of this situation, sorry, I have to get rid of this. Sorry about that. I'll just tell this person what's going on so they don't call back. It is the digital age, I just said that. So the next verse, so because of this situation, because of this sort of awful situation of Kali Yuga, therefore, bhurini, bhuri karmani, shotavyani vibhagasha, atak sadodra jatsaram, samudhritya manishaya, bruhi bhadraya bhutanang jainatma, suprasidati. So they say that there's so many books you're supposed to read. Shrotavya, Shruti means, of course, hearing, also like Shastra, Shruti, the Vedas. So Shrotavya, literally what is to be heard, what should be heard, in other words, an authoritative text that you're supposed to study. So they say that Bhurini Shrotavyani, there's so many quote unquote authoritative texts. There's so many things you're supposed to hear and learn. And all of these texts, Bhuri Karmani, and all of these different books are telling you to do so many different things. So there's so many books you're supposed to read, and all these books are giving so many instructions, do this, do that. So it's like God in heaven, what are you supposed to do? And this at a time when people are so stupid. People are so dull and foolish. So you get this really dumb population, and then you get all these books in the Vedic culture, read this, read that, do this, do that. It's just, you may have even noticed among devotees, there are some people who never met in their life a ritual they didn't like. And so you got to follow this rule and that rule and this ritual and that ritual. And so it's like, therefore, Ata, therefore, Sadhu, therefore, O sage, Atra jat sarang samujjati manisha. Yeah. You are intelligent, so therefore, please take out the essence, Sara, the essence of all that. Not 10 million rituals and, if you sneeze, snap your fingers and I don't know, maybe, throw God knows what over your left shoulder. No, forget all that. What is the essence of all these books and all these rules and do this and do that? What is the essence of all this? What is it really about? Samudritya Manishaya, please extract, bring out, literally, please bring forward for us the essence, Manishaya, because you're very smart, you're intelligent. They already know it, the sages, but they want to teach the people in general. So Bruhi, explain, Bhadraya Bhutanam, for the good of conditioned souls, Jainatma Suprasidati, how their soul can be completely satisfied. And the word prasidati, of course, is the verb. The noun is prasada. So prasada means mercy or grace. So explain how these poor, short-lived, very unintelligent people, how can their soul be fully satisfied in Krishna consciousness? That's what we want to hear. That's what you should explain. Go to the essence. And the word Sara, of course, means essence. And the Vaishnava, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the Vaishnava is Sara Grahi. The Vaishnava takes the essence of everything. Or Saranga. Another word is Saranga, which means going to the essence. So that means that the Bhagavatam is going to teach this. There's so many different books you're supposed to read and study and learn. And every book tells you to do a million things. And we're not very bright, and we don't live very long. So what's the real point here? That's what the sages are saying. What is the real point here? How can my soul be truly satisfied? How can my soul achieve grace? How can I, as a soul, how can I really get the mercy of Krishna? Just explain that. We don't need to hear the rest of it right now. So that's the Bhagavatam. Then we'll stop there for today. That is the Bhagavatam. As we know, it's really a great book. It's the greatest book. There you go. Just looking to see if there are any questions we can answer real quickly, but no. So thank you for listening, and hope to see you next Sunday. Hare Krishna.